It is Friday. Welcome into your go-to show for sports here on the Shore. Delmarva Sports Insider. I'm Anthony Joseph.
And I'm Chris Brunk. Thank you for joining us. We've got a whole lot to get into tonight, as we do every Friday night, Anthony.
We certainly do. Let's go over what we have in store for tonight on DSI. We have highlights from the DIA Individual Wrestling Tournament, plus we're sitting down with an orthopedic surgeon to learn more about sports injuries.
And we had a big Bayside South showdown in girls basketball. Red Hot Parkside taking on Stephen Decatur. Those highlights in just a minute, but we start with wrestling, Anthony.
We certainly do. Tonight, the Henlopen Wrestling Conference Championship kicked off. We got action from some of the top wrestlers from the 106 weight class all the way to the heavyweights. Let's get right to it. Multiple top wrestlers gathered in Milford for their shot to be number one in the quarterfinals for the 106 weight class. Ben Donato from Cesar Rodney won by tech fall over Sussex Tech with a score of 21-6. And then you have another phenomenal wrestler, Malachi Stratton, looking for the pin while he was getting in near multiple pinfalls. He has those moves. He likes that cradle, but I tell you what, he is one of the best wrestlers of all time. He has the most wins in Delaware history. Now in the quarterfinal, the 106 weight class, you had Jasmine Sneed, and he makes a pin. He makes it look so easy, and he gets the final win in the quarterfinal in that 138 weight class.
And Dustin Elliott was out there getting on the action too. He gets the cradle right there, looking for the fall, and he gets it over Cape Henlopen in the quarterfinal for the 157 weight class. Now Laurel Stanley Pete getting the upper hand in his bout. Multiple near falls for Pete, racking up his score against Cape and winning his quarterfinal match at 165. Now for the Bulldogs, it's Corday Rodriguez. He had a tough road compared to the others, not having a bye, but he wins in round one. And going on to the quarterfinals, it's a stalemate, but he's able to overcome the tiebreaker against Lake Forest, moving on to the semifinals on Saturday.
Now, the Salisbury University men's lacrosse team has a long tradition of winning. Recently, the 1995 celebrated their anniversary of the championship. Meanwhile, the current SU men's lacrosse has been very dominant this season, and they picked up a huge win against Scranton. This team possibly could win a championship like the 1995 team did. SU's men's lacrosse coach, Jim Berkman, talks about the 1995 team.
The 95 team was one of the greatest teams to ever play here. You know, they virtually won every game by 10 or more goals. They won the national championship by 9 goals. It was a special group that was awful talented at every position, and it's amazing to see them 30 years later and to celebrate those first two championships at College Park.
Watching SU lacrosse, Anthony, but we had a lot of fun watching a Bayside South showdown in girls basketball tonight. Parkside hosting Stephen Decatur. The Rams coming into this one on a 12-game win streak. They were red hot in their last game, picking up their biggest win of the year against Y-High. But Stephen Decatur came to play. Malia Blake pulling up in transition right there. She finished with 9 points in the game. We were going back and forth this whole time. Zion Smith, a nice little teardrop from the free throw line. Tough to check her, but the Seahawks held her to 4 points in this game. They played to a draw in the first half, tied at 19, in part thanks to Allison Swift for the Seahawks, finishing with the foul right there. She led all scorers in the game with 18. Now Parkside turning defense into offense. Smith with the steal, up ahead to Zion OG. OG scored 12 points for the Parkside Rams tonight. Allison Swift was making huge plays down the stretch, though. Decatur takes a late lead and holds on. They win this one 50-47. Here's head coach Corey Holland after this big win for the Seahawks.
Exciting win tonight. Man, this is crazy. Have the girls come in here. It's been a good year for them so far. I mean, Parkside is an exciting team. They're an excellent team. We were able to get away with one today. Defensively, I thought we did a phenomenal job on the defensive end. Offensively, I think we some things that we can do a little bit better. I thought we could have cleaned up the offensive take and some things like that.
Stay updated while we're at these games in real time.
Make sure to follow WMDT Sports on Facebook and X right now. And For Parkside, the girls team was not able to prevail tonight, but it was not the same story for the boys team earlier this week. They had a thriller. They played at home against Y-High boys basketball. It was a rematch from a game that the Rams won back in January. The Tribe, always dangerous, but they have been slumping recently. Can they break out of it? They looked pretty good early. Tyson Hayward, pump fake, one dribble, pull up for two. He had 15 points in this one. Hayward, always a really effective scorer. Y-High leading for most of this game, but they couldn't pull away. Gary Martin, a strong drive right there, finishing through the contact. He had some big ones down the stretch. Rams take the lead late in the fourth quarter. It's a 2-point game with 9 seconds to play. Julian Culley at the line ties it with 2 free throws. He led Y-High with 17. We go to overtime. Now it's Culley again, letting it fly from downtown, giving his team the lead in the extra period. Can the Rams respond? Javon Comagese, let's see what he can do. He sees a lane, splits the defense with a reverse. This game would come down to the wire in overtime. Peyton Cropper almost loses the handle. He can't get the shot to fall, but it's Maurice Brown right there for the putback with just seconds left. Parkside wins 52-50 in an absolute slugfest. Here was Rams head coach Bobby Bates post-game talking about what his team showed, being able to grind out such a tough win at home.
Anytime we pick up a win against a good team like that, battle it out in a city game, it's definitely going to help our confidence out. You know, stuff wasn't going our way the whole game, basically. We talk about runs, the highs, the lows, game of runs. Just seeing these guys fight through when we're down 10 points early, seeing them at the end, blowing a 4-point lead, still fighting back in overtime, still having that grit that we had, even when guys fouled out. So just the toughness of our team at the end really showed for me.
And this week, we also saw the championship games for the Eastern Shore Independent Athletic Conference. In the boys and girls games, it was the Delmarva Christian Royals who were crowned as champs. The girls took on Saints Peter and Paul. They took that one 53-42. Bella Marinelli led her squad with 20 points. And for the boys, they faced off against Worcester Prep and dominated with a 69-33 victory. 20 points for Malachi Light in that one. Congrats to the Royals. The girls team, a 17 seed in the DIAA state tournament.
Now to high school football. Keyshawn Copes likes basketball, but he really likes football. Copes is a two-sport athlete for the Bulldogs. His big decision is finally over as he looked at several opportunities. Copes will play for West Virginia State. Copes is a defensive lineman. He has the speed. He gets to the quarterback in a hurry, and then he wraps him up. He made 83 tackles on the season. He is one of the playmakers for the Laurel Bulldogs basketball team. We're calling our first time out, but when we return, Chris, we're talking sports injuries, sitting down with a team physician for SU men lacrosse.
We've got that and more when Delmarva Sports Insider returns.
This is Maurice Brown, you watching Delmarva Sports Insider.
Welcome back to Delmarva Sports Insider. Teams are having to cram their schedules to make up for canceled games and practices with all the snow that we've been having recently. So, Sports Director Anthony Joseph sat down with orthopedic surgeon Jason Skopp to talk about sports injuries.
Now, a lot of these high school basketball teams are playing a lot of games in a row. Some had to play 3 this week. Doctor, tell us what injuries that you're seeing.
You know, the biggest thing that happens with repetitive games or back-to-back games are overuse injuries. So little things that might nag you week to week get compiled when you have to play games back-to-back like that.
Are you seeing a lot of student athletes now?
Yeah, this time of year it gets very busy. We've closed out the fall season, now we're into the winter season. And sometimes when an athlete's playing multiple sports throughout the year, these little injuries again compile, and then you throw multiple games at the same time, and we start seeing little injuries become big injuries.
Getting back to high school basketball players, what are some of the things that they can do to try to prevent or reduce injury?
Yeah, you know, basketball is a big one. They're running so hard on a hard floor and repetitive, and so a lot of times we'll see knee and ankle injuries. So the most important thing when a player starts experiencing pain is don't be afraid to let your athletic trainer know. It's okay to get things looked at, because if we can get something before it becomes a big problem, we can actually keep the player playing throughout the entire season.
Talk a little bit as far as, you know, in high school football, the players have to stay hydrated. but really in other sports, they need to also do that too.
Oh, all the time. I'm a huge proponent of making sure that every one of our athletes is getting proper nutrition and proper hydration. I think a good rule of thumb is starting every day out with a full glass of water, 8 ounces, the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning. That way you already start your day hydrating.
Also, you are the trainer for SU men's lacrosse. You do all their home games. Tell us a little bit about what you're seeing so far this year.
Well, so luckily I'm the team physician for First Salisbury University, and we have an amazing training staff that I've been working with for years. Early on, when we're playing these games and it's cold out, we'll see. It blows my mind that these guys are standing on the sidelines in shorts and just their shirts, and I'm completely bundled up trying to stay warm. So sometimes we'll even see cold injuries because they get cold, they get sweaty, they play, and then they stand on the sidelines. And so some of these players are afraid to report that they might even be getting symptoms of hypothermia. So even though it looks like I'm just standing on the sidelines kind of paying attention and watching the game, I'm actually watching all the players as well to make sure nobody's experiencing any cold, and then in the summertime, any heat-related illnesses.
In the past, have you seen a lot of players that have that issue of hypothermia?
It's rare, but the lacrosse season seems to be starting earlier and earlier each year. When I first got here, my first season was 2003, and the games did not start in February. We had, I think, our first game in January. Can you imagine being outside in January on the Eastern Shore? It's not warm, and so we have to pay attention to these things, and we haven't had to pay attention to them previously.
What else are you seeing? What are some of the injuries that you're also seeing?
So early in the season is really just going to be traumatic stuff. So this weekend saw an ankle injury, nothing catastrophic yet. A lot of injuries happen are little tweaks and little strains, and we hope that nothing is going to impact the season.
Well, thank you so much, Doctor. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Absolutely.
Back to you, Chris.
In addition to SU men's lacrosse, Dr. Scott has served as the team physician for the United States national soccer team and for the Shorebirds here on Delmarva. Well, coming up, Maryland's U.S. Senator Chris Van Hollen slamming the GOP budget resolution. Plus, find out why drug overdoses are down across Delmarva. We'll have those stories and more coming up after the break.
Willie Downing, head coach of Lady Indians at Wycomico High School, and you're watching Delmarva Sports Insider.
Good evening and welcome back. Delmarva. Maryland's U.S. Senator Chris Van Hollen is slamming Republicans over their budget resolution that he says will fund tax breaks for the ultra-rich. Senator Van Hollen issuing a statement today slamming President Trump and his GOP colleagues after their budget passed despite several attempts by Democrats to amend the resolution. Now, that includes an amendment that was supported by Senator Van Hollen that Republicans shot down that would have prevented funding cuts to the national school lunch and breakfast programs.
1 in 5 kids don't know where their next meal will come from or what it will be. So to ensure that those kids get healthy meals and can focus on their education and their studies instead of their stomachs, 91% of public schools participate in the USDA meals program.
Yeah, and it's that kind of funding that Democrats say is in jeopardy as a result of the budget that was passed, which they argue lays the groundwork to slash vital services for the American people. Moving on here, a new report from the CDC shows drug overdoses fell between 2022 and 2023. But how did Maryland and Delaware stack up at the state level? WMDT's Blake Lipton has the details.
I believe that the numbers are falling in Maryland, in particular in Wycomico County or the Eastern Shore, is because we are providing a lot of education and awareness into the community.
Education and awareness is just one of the keys to falling overdose rates, according to Michelle Hardy, director of the local Behavioral Health Authority of Wycomico County. But Hardy says there's still work to be done.
Even though we're seeing decreases in overdoses in the community overall, we are seeing an increase in overdoses of those that are age 55 and older and those that are minorities or communities of color.
In Maryland, the age-adjusted rate of drug overdose deaths fell from 40.3 to 39.3, while in Delaware that rate fell from 55.3 to 53. Breaking down the stigma and letting people know that there's help may be what helps that rate continue to fall.
We have expanded a bit. We now have 5 recovery residents.
Don Keister with Attack Addiction says the availability of life-saving medication may also be a step in the right direction.
The increased availability of naloxone, Narcan available for families, they're able to access that. It's a real lifesaver for a lot of folks.
Still, letting people know about the dangers of drug use may be the best way to help combat drug overdoses.
We are seeing drugs that are being laced with fentanyl and xylazine. Xylazine does not respond to a naloxone administration, so we just have to be very aware of all of those sorts of things.
Yeah, Attack Addiction will be holding a 5K on March 1st in Old Newcastle. Well, at this time, we're going to throw things over to Chief Meteorologist Rich Werdzik, who's standing by. Rich, I got to tell you, I am so excited to see 60 degrees back on the forecast.
Yep, and unfortunately, I can't promise it for the weekend, but don't worry, it's coming. And Rob's going to be happy about this. I'm sure a lot of people at home happy about a slight warm-up that we have going forward after a really cold end of the week here. It'll also be nice to get rid of some of that wind that still noticeable here along the coast. Morse Roofing and Siding Skycam live in Rehoboth Beach. Yeah, the sun was out today in full force, and we needed all of it to kickstart that melting process again. Bloxham, Virginia, that's where meteorologist Eric Alf was earlier today with one of our interns, Kevin Holder, who helped pick out these shots and edit this video and send it back to us. Blue sky there in the background, but an awfully cold day across town where they were at right there. It was still above freezing, but again, a little longer to melt that snow off in some of these areas that saw the most snow from that last system. Bloxham's one of those places picked up about 6-7 inches of snow. Right now, 27 in Salisbury, Ocean City 29, the same in Georgetown, 28 in Dover, Cambridge 28, Easton 27, Princess Anne 28. So we're all just hanging out just below freezing. Look north, not much colder. Look south, not much milder. In fact, if you go down to Wilmington, North Carolina, pretty much the same temperature. So you see here the eastern third of the U.S., very uniform with the air mass that's in place. So that's as the Arctic air that was spilling in from the north is really starting to relax. Still a few snow showers coming in off the Great Lakes. But high pressure moving in tonight, and that should keep it very quiet and keep skies clear. Although some moisture will start to stream in from the south in the form of high clouds tomorrow, it's going to be a dry forecast moving forward here for the next several days. So tracking the Arctic air, that's where we really turn our attention at this point. So the Arctic air on the map here would be what you see in the gray, the white, and some of the pink and purple colors here. That core of Arctic air builds again in northern Canada. That's the North Pole right there. And once that Arctic air really starts to thicken up again and become more dense, it'll start to spill south later this coming week on Friday. But one thing that will not happen is that chunk of the Arctic air, like we saw just the past couple days ago, that is not going to slide down in our direction. It's actually going to move to our north. So we're just going to be on the very fringes of what will be considered a cool down from temperatures that will be above average for most of the week. Back to tonight, 23 at 2. We're going to dip down to the teens here late tonight, just around sunrise, and there are your feels like numbers there. 10 degrees is what it will feel like on average at 6 a.m. There will be improvement, though, through mid-morning. As you look at the breeze there at the bottom, not nearly as blustery as it was today. Still feels like temperature at times in the low to mid-30s tomorrow, but the actual air temperature for some of us will pop above 40 for a few hours. Clouds will be in and out, but again, I promise dry weather tomorrow, dry weekend, sunnier skies Sunday. 47 expected for the end of the week forecast. Average is about 50, 51, so we're going to be a few better than that on Monday at 54. There's the 60-degree plus day I promised Rob at 61. And then a couple showers Thursday. But, Anthony, the way we're rounding it out here, the final days of February, near or above average, and no more snow or ice.
Thanks, Rich. I love warm weather, and I know the coaches and the student-athletes also do, too. Stick around. When we come back, we're talking postseason basketball with the Smyrna Eagles set to take on the Seaford Blue Jays in the Henlopen Conference Championship. You're watching DSI.
Hi, I'm B.J. Johnson, head basketball coach at Stephen Decatur High School. You're watching Delmarva Sports Insider.
And welcome back. Chris, it's that time of year for the high school brackets to come out. I know you're excited about it. On Monday, the tournament begins, and we have a lot of good action. We have number 16, Hodson, taking on Delmarva Christian. Dover taking on number 24 Archmere. Then Polytech there, Chris, they're taking on Middletown. Howard taking on number 21 St. George's. Early College and number 18 Wilmington Friends. Indian River head coach Ron Dukes taking on number 23 Del Castle. 14 Tower Hill taking on number 19 AI DuPont. And then we have Pat Woods and number 11 K Vikings taking on number 22 Conrad.
A lot of good matchups in there, Anthony. But before we get those, we're going to get the Henlopen Conference Championship, right?
We certainly are. The Seaford Lady Blue Jays are heading to that Henlopen Conference Championship. The last time they were there back in the 2013 season. They will head into the conference with a 16-3 record, the same as their opponents, the Smyrna Eagles. The Lady Blue Jays are riding a 4-game winning streak. During that streak, they had a huge victory against Cambridge South Dorchester, 44-39. They did not take on the Smyrna Eagles during the regular season. Jordan Evans and Kymer Cornish-Bain talks about this huge Henlopen Conference game.
I think I've gotten better over the 4 years I've been playing. I definitely think I could have stepped up a little bit more this season, but I am proud of what I've done. I'm excited. My team's excited. I'm very proud of them. We always wanted the same recognition as the boys, so we're finally getting it, and it's time to step up.
I hope that we win. We play together as a team. We talk. We do what we need to do, get the dub, and we just play hard, play with our heart. This is my actual first conference championship game since my whole 4 years in high school, so I really actually trying to take this home, bring it back. This will be a great memory for my last year of basketball at Seaford High School.
Now looking at the other side of that matchup, the Smyrna Eagles back in the conference championship game. First time since 2014, so neither of these teams has been here recently. They've been relying on senior Kai Burnett. She reached 1,000 points for her high school career this season. She's averaging 16 points per game. As a 4-year starter, Burnett has 300 career steals. Coach Enrique Gums, in his 3rd season at the helm, talks about Kai Burnett and their matchup against the Lady Blue Jays.
She rebounds, she distributes the ball as well. So her motor kind of set the tone for the way that everybody else should play on the floor with us. So we are a team, we pressure the ball a lot, but we do a great job rebounding even though we're small. So I think our ability to push the pace and be able to pressure ball handlers gives us a nice little advantage. We like to play like that every night. So I think that is a great opportunity for us to continue to play our style of basketball and be successful.
Chris, I was talking to Coach Gums earlier today. His team is staying focused. They're excited about their matchup with the Seaford Blue Jays, and you don't know what they're going to do in the playoffs, but I imagine a very deep run, very talented team.
Yeah, and I mean, we have this conference championship game with Smyrna and Seaford. They're the 3 and the 4 seed in the whole DIAA state tournament. So, I mean, you look at that right there, that tells you these are very evenly matched teams. They have the same record. And this Henlopen Conference Championship could be a preview of the state title game because they're on opposite sides of the bracket if these teams, make a run.
Should be a very close matchup. Coming up next on Delmarva Sports Insider, my favorite time. Find out who will be named our WMDT Athlete of the Week.
This is College Schoolfield, free safety and running back at Delmar High School, and you're watching Delmarva Sports Insider.
All right, checking in with Chucky here in Lewis, who is at 30 degrees, and a lot of places inland have now taken the dip into the 20s. But taking a look at the hourly forecast for your Saturday, we're all going to settle down into the upper teens right around sunrise. So real cold start to get things going for your Saturday, but by the afternoon, some improvement. What's going to be different about tomorrow is this. The wind is going to finally relax a little bit. It feels like temperatures will be in the mid-30s. Actual air temperature sometime around 3 will pop above 40 in a few spots. The dog walking forecast, same idea for tomorrow. So I've gone ahead and upgraded us to green paws even early in the morning because I think getting the walk in will be much easier than it has been. We've had some decent melting of the snow and ice, so I'm hoping a lot of those walkways will be better for tomorrow. Marine forecast actually looks good there for Saturday, and the 7-day forecast, the slow warming trend, but it's a guarantee that we're going to be warmer. And I keep saying this, but I'm excited to say it, Anthony and Chris, that we have no more snow or ice in the forecast for the rest of the month.
Hooray! It's time to unveil the WMDT Athlete of the Week. Sussex Central basketball player David Maker this week scored his 1,000th career point. Now he's been selected to the first team All-Conference in the Henlopen North.
Yeah, that was a really nice moment in that game at Dover. Even on the road, they still stopped it, let him come out, take pictures with his mom and all of his teammates. And he was great in that game too, by the way. Leading scorer in that game, 17 points. We want to hear who you think should win next week's award. Send in your suggestions to our email, sports@wmdt.com.
David Maker just makes it. This week for After the Whistle, we looked at Indian River's Javion Chandler, star running back who was a big part of Indian River's football championship season. Who is coming up next week, Chris?
On Monday, we're talking to a Colonel Richardson track star, Addison Clater. She turned in a remarkable performance at regionals for their indoor season. Now she's setting her sights on some big goals for the spring. And I'm going to throw out one spoiler right there, Anthony. In her indoor season from 1 year to the next, she took 21 seconds off of one of her races. Super impressive.
And she's a former Colonel Richardson Student Athlete of the Month. Chris, we're all out of time. Didn't we just get started?
It always feels like
That's going to do it for tonight. As always, thank you so much for watching.
And be sure to keep up with us this weekend all over social media.
Have a great night.